Okay, the time is 6 p.m. This meeting is hereby called to order. We have the presence of a quorum, and the meeting has been duly called, and notice of the meeting has been posted for the time and manner required by law. First up on the agenda this evening are board members' reports, special reports. Mr. Rice.
Thank you, Mrs. Tasson. I would like to report that I attended the TASB Board of Directors meeting Thursday, March 30th to Saturday, April 1st. And while I was there, we had a session with Mr. Mark Baxter from the Texas Education Agency, who visited with TASB directors for about 3 hours reviewing the TEA and the ESSA assessment requirements as they're attempting to get both of those programs in alignment. They're trying to align the TEA accountability system with ESSA. One of the questions they asked was, what should the graduation rate be by the year 2030, which is only 13 years away. Currently, statewide, the graduation rate is 89%, which Texas is knocking it out of the park, really, compared to other states. And he made the comment that he was thinking maybe 92 to 95%, because we've had year-over-year gains for the past 10 years. But we had discussion. I told him I thought it was unrealistic without funding a full day of high-quality pre-K, providing additional funding for special ed, English language learners, and economically disadvantaged children. That if we want to move the bar higher, it gets harder and harder, incrementally so. So he did take that information and that feedback. In addition, he commented that the TEA is moving towards a more service-oriented philosophy as opposed to a mere compliance philosophy. I think you heard that from Dr. Dupree and Mrs. Tasson earlier. And their new mantra is, every child prepared for success in college, a career, or the military. He also commented that the Lone Star 4 governance training will be available in Region 4, 6 or 7, 10 or 11, and 18. Not too sure on those. So in addition, while we were there, anyway, I would just like to say that I think this Commissioner of Education, Mike Morath, he's spent 2 full afternoons with the TASB Board of Directors last year and then this year, and now he's sent Mark Baxter there. They're spending a lot of time, and this is the first time since I've been a TASB director, or even on the Board of Trustees, that I recall any effort such as this. And especially when Dr. Dupree and Mrs. Tasson can have a chance encounter with the Commissioner of Education, and he waives some of these bookkeeping requirements. It shows that he's genuinely interested in helping get the training out there that our principals might need and that we might need also to help move the needle forward. In addition, on Saturday, April 1st, Dr. Phil Gore, who's a TASB staff person, presented an update on TASB's latest board training initiative entitled TASB Exceptional Governance Training. There are essentially 6 modules in there. And, Module 1, What's at Stake? Setting a Vision for Opportunity and Achievement. Module 2, Essential Levers, Key Elements of Improved Learning and Teaching. Session 3, Taking Stock, Where Are We Now and Where Are We Going? 4, Structuring for Success. And 5, Oversight for Excellence. So the cost of this, these are 5 different modules. The first one is about 3 hours, and the remaining are about 2.5 hours each. And they're about 6 to 7 weeks apart, is around $7,000. So if the board were, our board were to decide to undertake this beginning in June, we'd probably be done by January of next year. That's a board decision, but I'm lifting it up with a recommendation to our board president that we give this consideration. I know we have a pretty full schedule already through the end of the year, And if we can't work it in, perhaps we can work it in for the following year. And this is in some people in the state have said that the only thing a school board should be focused on is student achievement. And while I agree that's a very big component of what we do, we also have to pass balanced budgets. We also have to fend off portions of the district that would like to secede from the union. We also have to establish tax rates and things like that. And we also have to advocate on behalf of public education. So there's more to it than just focusing on student achievement, although that is why we are here. But we do all of that other stuff to make sure that our students can succeed. So with that, I've given this report to Mrs. Kaiser to include so that you all can see it. And I'll conclude those comments, and just, if I can have one more moment of personal privilege, I would like to commend Mrs. Tasson for her efforts at the state and going to Austin, and Mrs. James too. They've been up there several times. But taking on writing these op-ed pieces that in the way that she has takes a lot of courage, especially because she's engaged in a re-election campaign right now. And don't think that the powers that be in Austin have not noticed. They have. And but unfortunately, sometimes that's what it takes to point out the fact that the emperor's new clothes he's not wearing any. And so I just really appreciate you doing that, Mrs. Tasson. I want to thank you for your leadership, your courageous leadership, and advocacy on behalf of all the school children in the state of Texas. We really appreciate you. It's an honor for me to serve with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rice. I didn't know he was going to do that. I really appreciate those kind words. I think it takes a team of us, and if I didn't have the support of this board, like Mrs. James driving me to Austin and back in the same day, and in hail, and all the support, of all of you, Mr. Rice on the TASB board, and all the things that all of you do in order to support me being able to do those things, and I wouldn't be able to do it. So I appreciate that. I think we are an excellent team here, and I'm very proud myself to be part of it. And I say it often. I took a survey today that someone I don't know if you guys got the same email about the survey being on the board, and I was able to answer strongly agree to all of the questions around, do you talk positively about your board in the community? Do you feel like you have a strong team of 8? Do you feel like you're a family with your board, other fellow board members? And I was able to answer strongly agree to all of those, and I'm very proud to be able to serve with such good people. So thank you for that, Mr. Rice. I really appreciate it. I also have a special report. I was able to attend last week when the House Public Education Committee was hearing bills related to special education. And I felt like as a board member and as a parent that it was important for me to be there and give testimony. And I was very happy to be able to do that. So I just wanted to update you guys on 3 bills that I was able to testify on in the House, and then 1 bill before the Senate Education Committee as well. House Bill 194. Which would set out specific ways a special education student could earn an endorsement on that student's transcript. Representative Bernal is who presented this bill, and I testified in favor of it. That's one of the things I've actually worked on since last session, to try to help our special education students be able to receive credit for an endorsement. Of course, as you all know, my daughter is a sophomore in high school right now. We have her on the path to be, getting all her endorsement, her cohesive sequence of classes in order to be able to earn that endorsement. And hopefully the Senate will pick this bill up and pass it as well, and then we'll be able to offer that for our children. One of the things I said in testimony is that House Bill 5 was a good bill, but it needs to be good for all of our kids. And so hopefully they will do that. The second bill I testified in support of is House Bill 713 by Representative Wu. And this is would prohibit the commissioner and TEA from adopting or implementing a performance indicator in any agency monitoring system, including the performance-based agency monitoring system that evaluates the total number of students or percentage of students who receive special education services. And what all that means is just that it would prevent a cap. That's what Brian Rosenthal was reporting on in the Chronicle, and I actually tried to surrender my time because there were so many people signed up to testify on the remaining bills, but I was asked to come up and testify. I think I was the only board member in the room, and maybe the only board member that was going to testify, and I only said one sentence, which is that districts pay attention and they follow those indicators. And that was the one sentence that got picked up by the Chronicle, because I think everybody was just waiting to hear from somebody within a district to say, yes, we follow those indicators, they matter. And so if they're going to set indicators, they need to understand that school districts are going to feel pressured to abide by them, even if they know that they shouldn't. And so hopefully that's something that will get traction in the Senate as well. And I know that there's a sister bill on that in the Senate. The other bill is House Bill 1033, which would direct TEA to apply to the U.S. Department of Education no later than January 1st, 2018, for a waiver of the annual alternate assessment of students with significant cognitive disabilities required under ESSA and IDEA. And there were some that were of the opinion that that this waiver is not allowed under federal law, and that it didn't do any good to apply for it. My position was that, well, number one, we don't know what's going to happen with the ESSA because there's a lot going on with Congress right now and our president, and so I believe that it is worthwhile to at least ask for the waiver and have them deny it if that's what they want to do. But right now, these assessments are not good for kids in special education. I mean, my daughter takes one of them every single year and fails it. So they're not useful in any way. And I also asked to be tacked onto the bill that students would be given meaningful assessments instead of just these standardized assessments. And that was something that actually got some traction that day during the hearing. So we'll see how that comes out. And then the last bill, when the House Public Ed Committee broke to go to the floor, I ran over to the Senate side to listen for a little while, and Senator Kolkhorst was presenting. I said, oh goodness, I don't know if I wrote that one down. Yes, Senate Bill 1566, which proposed several things related to school board members, some of which had to do with training to be required by TEA, some of which had to do with what authority the school board had to hire and fire CFOs and chief academic officers, and lots of you sitting around the table here. I did not go and intend to testify on that bill, and the more I heard, the more I felt like a board member needed to weigh in because there was no one there to testify. So I testified on the bill and said that I did not feel like it was appropriate for a board member to have the power to hire and fire people that they don't work with on a daily basis, that I felt like it usurped the power of the superintendent and it would hinder the team of 8 concept, which we are supposed to be building relationships with our superintendent, and that I just did not think that that was a good idea. With regard to the training, I said I think it's a good idea. TEA requires team buildings with all of the board members present and the superintendent, and I think those are beneficial, and I could see how training requirements that at least once a year require that the entire board be present was probably a good idea, but I just could not support the other side of that bill. So we'll see. She was stated that she was working with TASB on that. Grover Campbell was there, Phil Gore was there and testified, so it sounds like they're working on that bill, and we'll see what kind of traction it gets. And I think that's all. The day was very productive overall, as you heard. The commissioner was there. We were able to make a lot of contacts that day, and I think it's good in my opinion, for a board member to show up and testify on these things that are going to impact their students, because I was really the only one there testifying on behalf of a school district. So I think it had some positive impact on the representatives that were listening. So thank you for the opportunity to be able to do that and to represent Fort Bend ISD there. That is all. Do we have any other special reports? Okay. Hearing none, we are now going to convene in closed session under the Texas Open Meetings Act, Chapter 551, the sections listed in the agenda, and for the purpose of a private consultation with the board's attorney on any and all subjects or matters authorized by law. We are now convened in closed session.